Isaac Newton's later life, from scholar to the Royal Mint. As the 17th century wound down, Isaac Newton had already transformed the scientific world. But in the 1690s, with his groundbreaking work in physics behind him, he shifted gears, finding himself caught up in an unlikely mix of theology, politics, and even law enforcement. From science to scripture, Newton was a man of science, but he was equally fascinated by the mysteries of the Bible. In his later years, he devoted time to writing about theology, often trying to decipher what he believed were hidden messages in Scripture. One controversial topic he tackled was the Johannine Karma, a passage in the Bible referring to the Holy Trinity. Newton believed this passage might have been altered over time, sparking a private theological debate with the philosopher John Locke. His writings on such topics were left unpublished during his lifetime and only surfaced decades later, revealing a deeply religious side of Newton that few knew about. A brief, quiet parliamentarian. Twice in his life, Newton served as a Member of Parliament for Cambridge University, first in 1689 and again in 1701, yet he wasn't particularly active in his political role. According to one famous story, his only recorded comment in Parliament was a request to close a drafty window, as the chill was distracting him. Still, he occasionally left his mark in other ways, such as when he rebuked students who tried to frighten townsfolk by spreading ghost stories. The Royal Mint, Newton's surprising new calling. In 1696, Newton accepted an unexpected appointment as Warden of the Royal Mint. Though it was initially meant to be an honorary role, Newton took it very seriously. Backed by his influential patron Charles Montague, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Newton moved to London and left his teaching duties at Cambridge behind. He quickly immersed himself in the gritty work of managing England's coinage and began to tackle a pressing problem: counterfeiting. In Newton's time, about 20% of all coins in circulation were counterfeit. Since counterfeiting was considered high treason and punishable by execution, the stakes were high. Determined to address this threat to England's economy, Newton went undercover, disguising himself and mingling in the taverns and back streets of London. He gathered evidence and interviewed witnesses, eventually prosecuting nearly 30 counterfeiters. For Newton, this wasn't just a job, but a personal mission, an intellectual puzzle to solve, much like his earlier work in physics. Master of the Mint and Economic Legacy. In 1699, Newton became Master of the Mint, a position he held for the rest of his life. He oversaw the complex process of reminting England's coinage and, in 1717, made a crucial decision regarding the value of silver and gold coins. He recommended fixing the exchange rate, which unintentionally set England on a path toward the gold standard, a major shift in the nation's economic foundation. Some historians debate whether he intended this outcome, but either way, his actions had a lasting impact on the British economy. Society and knighthood. In 1703, Newton was elected President of the Royal Society, the prestigious scientific body he'd helped shape. In this role, he clashed with John Flamsteed, the Astronomer Royal, after Newton published Flamsteed's observations without permission. Newton's influence extended beyond science. In 1705, he was knighted by Queen Anne, likely for political reasons more than for his contributions to science. Still, he became only the second scientist ever to receive this honor, following Sir Francis Bacon. Financial losses in the South Sea Bubble. Newton wasn't immune to the financial risks of his time. In 1720, he invested heavily in the South Sea Company, an early joint stock company that promised massive profits. When the bubble burst, he lost around £20,000, a fortune in his day, equivalent to millions today. Newton reportedly remarked afterward, "I can calculate the motions of heavenly bodies, but not the madness of people. It was a painful lesson that even the sharpest minds aren't always suited for speculative investment. Final years and legacy. As he aged, Newton's focus turned to spending time with his family, especially his half-niece Catherine Barton, who managed his household affairs and was his frequent companion. He eventually retired to a peaceful home at Cranberry Park, near Winchester, where he continued his studies, though his health was declining. Newton passed away quietly in his sleep on March 20, 1727. His funeral at Westminster Abbey was a grand affair, attended by nobles, scientists, and admirers. Though he never married and had no direct heirs, his impact was monumental, influencing generations of thinkers across fields. His legacy lives on not only through his scientific theories, but also through the coins of England, its financial policy, and his personal story of curiosity, faith, and tireless dedication.